Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Satarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityanando Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So I couldn't go outside because it's raining and it's dark outside and the sun's going to be setting, so it's going to, the light from the windows will come in from the side, and so as we continue the class, it will brighten up. And we'll have some dramatic effects here. Right? So I have no lights on. There's one light in front of me, facing away from me. So that's all the light we have. So, Sundari Radha, where are you? I lost access to my old WhatsApp number. And I believe the information for the class was on that. From what I remember, she wanted me to discuss what is mercy. Is it something tangible? Is it intangible? Is it like an element? Is it like something you can, there's a formula and you can just make it and then take 3 teaspoons. And it's an interesting topic. And the short answer to the question is that mercy is very tangible, at least in terms of our experience, it's tangible. But it's not always so tangible in terms of a grossly observable process. Sometimes it is grossly observable. In other words, you do this with these material objects and you get mercy. But sometimes, and it's a transaction, it's like an experiment you can do. But sometimes it's more subtle or more difficult to see. And so I want to discuss both aspects of mercy. What is mercy in general? How do you get it? How does it manifest? What's it made of? What are the ingredients of it? How tangible is it? And so forth. So I decided that I would do some search. Sundari Radha, could you just write the question down to make sure that I've got it correct? I think I got it from memory. You can just write it down. So what I decided to do was go on the database and just search Krishna's mercy, see what Prabhupada said about Krishna's mercy. And the interesting thing that came up in doing this search is basically, as I searched it, maybe I spent an hour searching and coming up with various aspects of Krishna's mercy. What is Krishna's mercy and how does it manifest? It soon became obvious that basically Prabhupada was saying everything is Krishna's mercy. Everything in our life is Krishna's mercy. Even what is bad is Krishna's mercy, of course. He was focused on the positive things. But he said things like, you cannot understand Krishna without his mercy. The Archa Vigraha, the form of the deity, is Krishna's mercy. Devotional service is Krishna's mercy. Sometimes suffering is Krishna's mercy. Let's see, the Bhakti Lata Bij is Krishna's mercy. Purification is Krishna's mercy. If I feel free of anxiety, it's Krishna's mercy. If I get a position, it's Krishna's mercy. By Krishna's mercy, we receive a spiritual master. Obstacles can be transcended by Krishna's mercy. This is all very tangible things. If I'm put into a dangerous situation and I suffer, I accept it as Krishna's mercy. The pain can only be mitigated by Krishna's mercy. So Sundar, I want to get her question straight. Does Krishna alone possess the ability to actually bless a soul, or does a jiva have the power? Yeah, that's a good question. So first we'll define Krishna's mercy. That'll make it clear. If I have any opulence or whatever I have, that's Krishna's mercy. To become attached to Krishna, Kunti Devi prays to Krishna, can I become attached to, I would like to become attached to you. And she says, only by your mercy. Please give me the mercy that I can become attached to you. The sinful and the destitute can only understand their mistakes by Krishna's mercy. Arjuna said to Krishna, by your mercy my illusion is dispelled. So only by Krishna's mercy can illusion be dispelled. And then Arjuna said, I'm prepared to act according to your instructions. So only by Krishna's mercy can we act according to his instructions. Krishna takes away all your wealth. That would be his mercy also. If there's benevolent purpose behind it, obviously there is. That's why he would do it. Push us towards him. So that would be Krishna's mercy. If I'm lame or blind or dumb, but I can cross mountains, I can speak poetry, I can see stars in the sky, obviously that's Krishna's mercy. Bhagavatam says, without a drop of Krishna's mercy, I can't understand him. I don't need a lot of mercy, just a little bit. If I get a drop, I can understand him. And then Prabhupada says, Krishna's mercy is there in the Bhagavad Gita. In other words, his words are his mercy. So, obviously we could go on, but that's a sample of what Prabhupada's saying about Krishna's mercy. So, now, in answer specifically to Sundari Radha's question, do we possess mercy, or does mercy alone come only from Krishna? We have the Guru Vashtakam, the first line is that the spiritual masters gathering the mercy from the ocean of mercy, Krishna, and then like a cloud gets water from the ocean, it evaporates the salt, and then the cloud showers mercy. So it would appear from this statement that all mercy exists within Krishna, that we don't have mercy per se, that Krishna must give mercy. And mercy doesn't originate within us. Okay, so that argument you can easily make, and that is substantiated by that verse. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, and the idea of the guru is that he's giving the mercy of his guru, who is giving the mercy of his guru. So we're just delivering mercy that's been given to us, that wasn't created by us. But when you look up the word mercy in the dictionary, it doesn't bring this idea in. It brings in the idea that as an individual we can be merciful. And I think that also applies even though we say the mercy is coming from Krishna. And just like maybe a good example would be you're a doctor and you have a cure for a disease that was previously incurable. And so you didn't create the medicine, but you're meant to distribute it or administer it. And so maybe you will decide to go to Africa and administer this medicine to the poor people of Africa who are plagued by this disease. So you are delivering the cure. The cure is the mercy, but you have to be merciful, yes? Merciful enough to go there and undergo whatever difficulties you have to undergo and discomforts to administer the medicine. So it is said that a devotee is very merciful. So if a devotee is very merciful, what does that mean? It means he's mercifully giving the mercy he's been given. One time Prabhupada said that the mercy of the Guru is his instruction. Okay, so the instruction of the Guru is coming through disciplic succession. These birds are really excited about my class. They're applauding, I guess. So Prabhupada said, my words are my mercy. My instruction is my mercy. So, but unless Prabhupada came and was merciful to us, we wouldn't have his mercy. And so his instructions is his mercy, but those instructions are Krishna's instructions, or the instructions of his guru or the previous acharyas. So is it really his mercy? Well, certainly it was his mercy that he wrote all the books. But how did he get the knowledge in the books? He got it from the previous acharyas. So it was their mercy, and through his mercy, we got their mercy. So the principle is that, yes, mercy originates within Krishna, but then it's passed down through disciplic succession. So everyone within the disciplic succession must also be merciful. But the mercy is slightly different, because Krishna is the ocean of mercy. But at the same time, when a devotee is delivering his mercy, which is the mercy of his guru and the previous acharyas, he's also sprinkling it with his own realization. And that is also his mercy, or Krishna's mercy on him, by which he can be more merciful by sprinkling this information more profoundly within a context that the audience may not have understood, to a degree or a depth that the audience may not be able to access in their present state of consciousness. And the fact that he's just taking the time to do it certainly is his mercy, but it's not that he's, in a sense, originated the mercy, because the original knowledge from which he is able to share these realizations is a gift upon him. It's Krishna's mercy which he's transmitting. So it's a dual process. There's a nice explanation, I believe it's by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and he said that, how does Krishna know who to give his mercy to? Where does the mercy go? Who can tell me what kind of bird that is? Do we have any bird experts here? Is it a crow? Might be. I don't know. The birds are eager to get the mercy. Yes. They are getting the mercy and they're ecstatic. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said something interesting. He said, Krishna's mercy follows the devotee. And what he meant was that the devotee will pray, Krishna, be merciful on this person. So the devotee is praying to Krishna for Krishna's mercy to be bestowed upon a person. And so the devotee is thinking, it's not that I have mercy to give, Krishna has mercy to give, and I can only ask Krishna to give the mercy. And therefore, I'm acting as an agent of mercy to give Krishna's mercy. And so Krishna will be happy to give the mercy if I point in the direction of that person and say, Krishna, please be merciful to him. So like Prabhupada said, I'm always praying for you. I'm praying for your advancement. So what does that mean? He's asking Krishna. Now there's a story I told you before. One of my godbrothers, Shivananda Dasha, was with Prabhupada, and all of a sudden Prabhupada said, please pray for me. And he was caught off guard. It's like your spiritual master is asking you, a disciple, to pray for him. And Shivananda was a very new devotee, so it even makes it the drama more intense, or the difference between Shivananda and Srila Prabhupada is very drastic. So Shivananda is thinking, Prabhupada, how can I pray for you? And Prabhupada said that you're a devotee, so if you pray to Krishna, Krishna will hear you. So pray for me. So, of course, Prabhupada was in having a moment of intense devotion, intense humility, you could say, an intense desire to come closer to Krishna or to be successful in his preaching. Shivananda didn't say what Prabhupada had asked him to pray for, but it sounded in general, just pray for mercy in general, that I can be Krishna conscious. So, Shivananda is taken back. Prabhupada said, no, you're a devotee, you can pray. Krishna will hear you. So that's That's how mercy comes through any of us. Krishna, please, here's this person, I want to help them. Can you inspire me to say the right thing? Can you inspire them to buy one of Prabhupada's books? Can you inspire them to read it once they have it? So I'm a conduit of Krishna's mercy through my prayer, but I know on my own, I'm not the origin of the mercy. I am you could say, both the deliverer, and perhaps you could even say I'm cooking the mercy, or I'm spicing the mercy. So Krishna, please make my words suitable. So Prabhupada prayed that way on the Jaladuta. I don't know how these people can understand Srimad Bhagavatam. They're in a mode of passion, and this literature is Vishuddha Sattva, it's transcendental. But if you like, you can make my speaking suitable, and you can also, from within them, give them the ability to understand. So that was Prabhupada's prayer, that he understood he had Krishna's mercy in the form of Bhagavatam. But how they're going to understand it, that's a whole other issue. So he was praying, Krishna, please help me so that I can cook this up, so to speak, in a way that's tasteful and digestible. So in that sense, that kind of mercy we have. Now, before I take questions, I wanted to talk about some mercy that's less tangible. Here we're talking about tangibles, like if I speak, if Prabhupada speaks, if we read Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada said, in those words is Krishna's mercy, and I think that's obvious. You're hearing Krishna's words, that's Krishna's mercy. You're hearing Prabhupada's words, that's Prabhupada delivering Krishna's mercy, delivering the mercy of the Acharyas. It's tangible. You get Krishna's mercy by hearing. You get Krishna's mercy by Sangha. You get Krishna's mercy by chanting the holy name. These things are very tangible. If you don't do it, you feel a lack in your spiritual life. When you do it, you understand it's not your power that you're receiving. It's the power of the transcendental vibration. It's the power of the transcendental Sangha, and you're benefiting from it. And so you realize, I didn't create this, I'm a recipient of it. It's a gift. I don't even know how it is. I'm a devotee still today. Somehow or other I got out of bed and chanted Hare Krishna, worshiped my deity, studied. I'm still here. I'm still going on. That has to be Krishna's mercy because I'm a conditioned soul. And so it's very tangible. What is less tangible, although it's very explicitly stated in Bhagavatam, and in a sense you could say, well, it is tangible because there's a process there. But let's say maybe intangible is not a good word, but mystical is probably a better word. You have two potential things going on in your spiritual life that are juxtaposed to one another. One is pleasing a devotee and getting his mercy, and one is offending a devotee and becoming bereft of mercy. And that's when mercy becomes intangible, but at least on the gross level. But in terms of experience, we have experience if we please a Vaishnava, if we please Srila Prabhupada, if we please our spiritual master, we feel differently. We feel empowered. We get realizations. We feel inspired. We feel energized. If we don't follow the instructions of our spiritual master, the best way I can describe our feeling is that we feel blah. The word is an English word. I have the blahs. How do you feel today? I have the blahs. It means you just don't feel energized. You basically don't feel like doing anything. Your mind's dead, your body's dead. You just feel like vegetating. Blah. I have the blahs. So sometimes we have the spiritual blahs. You've all experienced it, right? So why would I have the spiritual blahs one day, and why one day would I be inspired? Now you could say, well, the modes of nature are always shifting. Krishna says in the Gita, sometimes sattva dominates, sometimes rajas dominates, sometimes tamas dominates. So I feel very sattvic, very pure, or I feel very passionate, or I feel very lazy. So that's true, that sometimes just due to the external environment or the fluctuation of the modes of nature, we'll feel this way. But more specifically, generally for devotees, you can trace it back to your sadhana, or to your service, or to your attitude, or to your interactions with other devotees. So when the interactions are good, when the sadhana is good, then You feel inspired. You realize something's going on here to give me mercy. Something is helping me that I didn't create. I'm receiving something. I did something, but I'm receiving something much greater. I did a little chanting. I made an effort. Perhaps I didn't chant that well, but I tried. And I'm getting mercy. I feel some taste. I feel some inspiration. I feel like serving Krishna. I feel like reading Bhagavatam. I'm reading Bhagavatam. I'm getting some realization. That's mercy. Something is transpiring because I'm doing the right thing. I'm pleasing Guru. I'm pleasing Krishna. And when Krishna is pleased, then I get mercy. We've experienced that. And we can take this down even to pleasing a new devotee. Anytime you please a devotee, anytime you do something which is pleasing to any devotee, you feel good. You feel some mercy. Why is that? Because Krishna is happy when we please another devotee. And then Krishna shows his mercy to us. It's just how it works. It's mystical. I don't want to say it's intangible because we experience it. But I would say it's mystical because it's harder. How should we say? It's not so easily observable. It's more subtle. So I please another Vaishnava, and then I'm inspired. I please another Vaishnava, I feel happy. I please another Vaishnava, and my day goes well. I please another Vaishnava, and I get realization. I become inspired to serve Krishna. That's the effect of mercy. What's actually happening is when you please another Vaishnava, Krishna's pleased. When Krishna's pleased, you get mercy. It's just how it works. If Krishna's displeased, mercy is taken away. There's a daya is mercy, but there's a word nidoya. Nidoya means no mercy. Just like Madhai had offended Nityananda. He threw a pot, he hit Nityananda in the head. So when Mahaprabhu came, Jagai had surrendered and said, please excuse me, please excuse what my brother did. We're so sorry for what we've done, we're sinners, etc. Please be merciful. Lord Chaitanya said, okay. He said, but Nidoy, no mercy for Madhai because he harmed my devotee. So of course you know the story that Madhai eventually got mercy. He repented, he begged for mercy. And so Mahaprabhu said, okay, I'll give you mercy on the condition you don't sin anymore. And they agreed. So then the mercy came. They were free from all their sinful reactions. If Mahaprabhu said, no, you've harmed my devotee, I will not give you any mercy, then Madhai could never be Krishna conscious. So that's the subtle, mystical aspect of mercy. Just the fact that Nityananda begged Lord Chaitanya, said, please accept him, be merciful to him. Everybody's like him in Kali Yuga. If you're not merciful to him, nobody's going to have a chance. So Mahaprabhu said, yes, this is correct. I will give the mercy. So simply by Mahaprabhu saying, okay, you have the mercy, everything changed. Just like that. That's mystical, isn't it? You please a Vaishnava, Vaishnava is happy with you, and that has a complete change on you, just his pleasure or his displeasure. So the other side, the nidoy, the no mercy side. The no mercy side, we know you offend a Vaishnava, what happens? Your spiritual life suffers. It could even destroy your spiritual life. You offend a Vaishnava, the Vaishnava is upset. Now, you might say, I could offend a Vaishnava and he may not be upset. But there's a problem. And the problem is that Krishna may be upset that you upset the Vaishnava, although the Vaishnava is not upset. And because what you did upset Krishna, you suffer. So it all goes back to Krishna. If Krishna is pleased or Krishna is displeased, it's going to have this huge effect on our consciousness, on our whole internal state of mind, our whole internal state of Krishna consciousness. That's why I say it's a little intangible or mystical, how mercy works. So mercy works in many ways, but in this particular example, there's a transmission of mercy through Krishna's mystical power, Paramatma within the heart. That I please another devotee, devotee's pleased, Krishna's pleased. Now that Krishna's pleased, everything's good for me. I'm Krishna conscious. It's like I get a dose of Krishna consciousness because Krishna's pleased. If Krishna's displeased, I get the antidote. All of a sudden, it seems, and Prabhupada said this, my Krishna consciousness can evaporate. And we see that in devotees. Have you ever seen a devotee who used to be very blissful, Sankirtan devotee, book distributor, pujari, whatever, temple president, enthusiastic, ecstatic in their service, and then sometime in the future you see them and they look like a wilted flower. They're not associating with devotees, they're not doing devotional service. It's possible, or very likely, that they did something to offend some devotee and Krishna just gave them the antidote, the bhakti antidote. Okay, no bhakti for you. And they can't muster up devotion. And they're suffering, and they know they're suffering, and they don't want to associate with devotees, and they just want to criticize devotees, and they can't help themselves, and they're not happy, and they stop chanting their rounds. And they've got all the reasons, because ISKCON is so bad, I don't chant my rounds. And, you've seen it. So what's happening? This person who was so blissful and happy and Krishna conscious, and all of a sudden, they just dry up, and they're like, very involved in material activities, and they're very happy in material life. And they really don't want anything to do, or much to do with devotees, or they don't want much to do with certain kinds of devotees. Often they want nothing to do with ISKCON, and as I was saying, they fault it, or fault devotees. Why did that happen? It often happens because they did something to displease, or worse, offend a devotee, and Krishna was therefore displeased or offended. And Krishna just pulled the plug on their spiritual life and said, no, you're not going to get my mercy if you offend devotees. You're just not going to get it. If you want to advance in Krishna consciousness, you have to please my devotees. It's just a reality. If you want to advance in Krishna consciousness, you have to please my devotees. Stephanie wants to know how to good question. I'll get to your question, Stephanie, in a moment. But at least we have to understand, okay, let's say I'm not doing well in spiritual life. Like sometimes it's quite sudden. It's just like all of a sudden I don't feel it. Why? I've done something that's preventing me from getting enough mercy to be well situated in my Krishna consciousness. That's the understanding. Right. So maybe it's offending devotee. Maybe it's just not taking advantage of the instruction. It's not that I'm offending Prabhupada. I'm just not taking advantage of his instructions. I'm not doing what he asked. I'm not chanting 16 rounds, or I'm not rising early. I'm not studying his books. I'm not doing much service. It could be something like that. Something happens where I'm not doing the right thing, and therefore I'm not availing myself of the mercy. And I want to come to your question because I want to go to Krishna Karshini's question first. And welcome all of those who came on time and all of you who came late. For some of you it's quite early. Actually, if you're in California right now, it is exactly 4:15. And if you're in Mexico, it's 5:45. So if you're in Mexico, the class started at 5:15. That's not bad, got you up early. Yes. So let's read some comments. Let me, before I read your questions, pleasing a devotee, offending a devotee, obviously two opposite states, and they have two opposite results. And our Shastra is full of stories of devotees getting mercy, and is full of stories of devotees making offenses and losing the mercy. So, sometimes you see a devotee and they're very Krishna conscious, and then they fall away. And often we can trace it back to loss of faith in their guru. Some offense was made to a senior devotee. Or often you can see somebody who wasn't doing that well in Krishna consciousness, and all of a sudden they're doing really well. And then you can trace it back to they've changed something in their life. 8, 10, 11, 10 times. Wow. Maybe he's just waking up. That's how they wake. Maybe that's how they go. So, a devotee will say, every day now I'm reading Srimad Bhagavatam for 2 hours. I never did that before. I feel so inspired. Or I'm really taking my japa seriously now. I went to a japa workshop and everything's changing. They're doing something that's making a difference in their Krishna consciousness. And they're doing much better than they were doing previously. So there's something they've done that's enabled them to get some mercy that's empowering them in a new and better way in their Krishna consciousness. So you can always, it's not haphazard, you can always trace it back to doing the right thing, or perhaps neglecting instructions. No, I'm not finishing my rounds. I'm not reading. I'm getting up late. I don't have the right service attitude. I'm not getting along with devotees. You'll trace it to something. So what I'm saying is that there's so many sources of mercy we can tap into, and there's so many antidotes to mercy, which we should avoid, because if we get the antidote, it destroys the mercy. And then all of these, you could say, ultimately culminate, or ultimately what the mercy is that we're pleasing Prabhupada, we're pleasing Krishna, we're pleasing our Guru, we're pleasing other acharyas. Maybe that bird's hungry. I don't know. What do birds eat? Nuts? We could feed the bird nuts. He'd probably run away, but yeah. Krishna's pleased. Somehow or other, Krishna knows that you've done something. There's nothing you can do that Krishna doesn't know. So if you do the right thing, he knows it. So Krishna knows you've done something. Krishna's pleased. And you get mercy. And you're just inspired. You're getting realizations. You're happy. That's the symptom of mercy. That's how you know you have mercy. So that's the mystical side of mercy. So now let's go to the questions or comments. I am wondering, is it not that the mercy is all around us? Yes, it is. And the only problem is that we don't see it. That could be a problem, or the problem is we see it, we don't take it. So maybe we should pray to Krishna to recognize the mercy. Yeah. So there's two things. Your point is, mercy is there, I don't see it. Like my godbrother got an email from his wife of 29 years and said, see you later, baby. Go become a globetrotter. Go preach to the world. I'm out of here. It's nice knowing you. Okay, that's quite an email to get. Out of nowhere. Okay, so what does he think? Krishna's mercy, he wants me to preach. Well, probably that wasn't the initial thought, but definitely that thought was there. And so in his sober state, he thinks, Krishna's mercy, he wants me to preach. So that's what I'm going to do. So yes, I see Krishna's mercy in that. A new book comes out, Krishna's mercy. Now I can read this and learn this. Some difficulty has come. How is that Krishna's mercy? I ask myself that question. Gradually I see it. I chant good rounds. I realize there's so much mercy in the holy name. I didn't realize how much mercy is there. I take seriously studying Prabhupada's books. I didn't realize how much is in Prabhupada's books, how much help, how much insight, how these stories in Bhagavatam pull me into Krishna consciousness, like somebody just tied a rope around my neck and just dragged me somewhere. They just pull me into. I didn't understand that. I used to have these books collecting dust on my shelf for years. I never read them. Now I'm reading them. I'm such a fool. I should have been reading them all along. I didn't realize how much mercy is there. And the mercy was all around me. It was staring me in the face. I didn't realize it. So yes, that is a very good point. If I have some taste for anything in Krishna consciousness, it's not possible to have that taste unless Krishna gives me some mercy. Definitely. So, answer to your comment is yes, you are correct. And that I think the second part of it is, one thing is to see the mercy, but the other thing is take it. Because you might see it, but yeah, I know that's Krishna's mercy, but I'm to this or to that to take advantage. Yes, I know the books are Krishna's mercy, but I don't really like to read. Or I know the holy name is Krishna's mercy, but I just can't chant properly. Or I know this, but I don't take advantage. And I know I should serve my guru in this way. He wants me to do this, but it's so hard. So, yes, recognize the mercy, but if recognizing is just half of the equation, then take advantage of the mercy. So, Stephanie, from the beautiful city of Mexico, where everyone's lungs are probably black, if you actually took them out and looked at them. A very polluted city, but a wonderful city indeed. How can we remove the no mercy state? Well, let's go back to what Krishna Karshani said. We would remove the no mercy state by, number one, realizing that sometimes the mercy is there, that we have it. I just got a Facebook message in Hindi. And I don't speak Hindi, so sometimes mercy is there, we don't recognize it. So that's step one. Step one, recognize the mercy. It's the same thing I just said. Step two, take advantage of the mercy. But I would say, Stephanie, let's start with this. There's a neutral state. There's a neutral state. Every comment comes up and goes over the current thing I'm reading. That's why I keep doing this. There's a neutral state where you're not offending anybody. You're just not taking advantage of the mercy. So that's not a bad state to be in. It's kind of like a dormant state. So you can just get the mercy, like it's early in the morning for you in Mexico. So when we finish, you're going to chant your rounds. And you know from being at the Japa workshop a few weeks ago, or it was actually only like 10 days ago, that you can chant good rounds. And so you can go from the no mercy state to the mercy state, from a neutral state to a positive state, by accessing all the mercy that's there within the holy name. Or you could decide, well, I'm going to read before I chant. So then you access the mercy of Prabhupada's books. So a lot of this no mercy state is just that we're not accessing mercy, or you've been given so many instructions you can follow. I'm not accessing, mercy's coming to me, I get so many instructions, but I don't follow them. So I'm like kind of in a neutral state. It's not an offensive state per se, because I'm not consciously disobeying the order, I'm just not executing it. Like I know I should do it, I know I should chant good rounds. I'm trying, but it's not happening. Probably I'm not trying enough. But it's not that I'm not trying. So I'm not saying, I'm not going to chant, or this chanting doesn't work, or I don't have faith in it. You're not saying that. You're just not accessing the full mercy. So that's one step, is like recognize the mercy and then access it. Do what I have to do. Okay, so I get mercy by hearing, but I get more mercy by executing, right? So first let me hear, at least let me take the time to hear from Prabhupada, or from my spiritual master, or from senior Vaishnavas. Then let me take the time to try to understand what they're saying, and let me take the time to execute their instructions. So I get mercy. Or in your state, you might say, okay, I want to take shelter of a guru, or take shelter of a Siksha guru. I want to follow their instructions. If I take shelter, that act, it's like some of you don't have a guru, and so you're thinking, well, who's my guru? I don't know. And I always tell people, well, if you don't know who your guru is, at least try to find someone you have faith in. Take a Siksha guru. someone that can guide you. So that would be, if you're ready for that and you want to do that, that would help you. That you would get some mercy. So now you have a connection with somebody. He's instructing you. You're serving that person. You're learning from that person. So you've taken some action. Okay, let me follow. Let my devotional service be guided by somebody. Let me try to follow their instructions. And if you have a guru, same idea. Let me follow their instructions. So you're actively accessing mercy. The mercy is there. It's all around you. You see the deity. You go in the temple, but you don't pay attention. So the mercy is there, but you're distracted. So you don't get them. You're not accessing. Some difficulty happens in your life. You don't see it as Krishna's mercy. You have to see it as Krishna's mercy. How is it Krishna's mercy? Then you access the mercy. Oh, yeah, actually, this is good. It's helping me. So that's number one. Seeing it, well, you could say number two. As Krishna Karshan, he says, see that the mercy is everywhere. Krishna's providing me food. That's his mercy. See it. If I see it, then I get more mercy. I advance more. Krishna's providing air. He's providing Sangha. He's providing so many things. See it, recognize it, now access it, take advantage of it. That's step two. How can I go more deeply into, I'm given mercy, but how can I take advantage of it? Here's $100. How could you invest that and make $200? Take advantage of it. The third thing, and this is super important, and Prabhupada has made this very clear, that no matter what's going on the positive side, if on the negative side, I offend a devotee, especially I offend a very elevated devotee or offend my spiritual master, that could destroy all the positives. Now, for most of us, we don't offend. Sometimes we do something stupid. We criticize, mildly, oh, that devotee, they don't know what they're doing. We criticize. So that's bad, but that's not an offense per se. That would be destructive. But if we make up stories about advanced devotees and say things like they've done things that they never did, or we try to embarrass them in public and so forth, that's offensive because there's a vicious mentality. So Prabhupada said we have to avoid ill feelings towards devotees because an ill feeling can then become a vicious feeling. It can become a vengeful feeling. And so when we become antagonistic and vengeful towards devotees, that's offensive, that's dangerous. And then all the good could be dried up. So what happens when it dries up? You don't want to read, you don't want to chant. Or if you do read and chant, it actually makes you offensive. You read things in Prabhupada's books which, in your mind, validate all the problems that devotees are creating or all the problems that are within ISKCON. So your reading is actually making you more offensive rather than purifying you. And I've seen this. It's such an interesting phenomenon. When you have an offensive mentality, then you engage in the devotional practices and they make you more offensive. So you could say truly that's a no-mercy state, which is generated by an offensive mentality where Krishna is displeased with you, or displeased with us, and when he's displeased, he just kind of pulls the plug out. Now, I read this analogy yesterday, which is an analogy I've often given, and I don't remember having read it, maybe vaguely read it, but the analogy seemed so appropriate that I used to give it. And Prabhupada compared mercy to a rope being thrown to someone who fell in a well. And so Prabhupada said there's no way that person can get out of the well unless somebody who's on the land helps them. And so the way they would do it is throw a rope down. He would hold onto the rope and he would pick it up. So mercy works in this way where we, on our own, because of our own strength, could never get out of the well. It's not possible. But all we have to do is hold onto the rope, and if we hold onto the rope, we'll be pulled out. So mercy is something that pulls you to a higher level. And all you have to do is grab onto the mercy. So how to avoid the no mercy state? Do not offend devotees. And I don't want you to think that you do offend devotees. I would say most devotees do not commit serious offenses. We're a little critical, and that hurts our bhakti somewhat, but it doesn't devastate it. We can survive. We shouldn't criticize, but it's kind of part of our neophyte, uncultured mentality that we do it. But if we're trying to be sincere and we regret the fact that sometimes we criticize and we don't like it, it's not really offensive. But we should be cautious, just be cautious to have kind attitudes towards devotees, be favorable for devotees. Even if devotees do something which we don't agree with or hurts us, just try to at least be neutral so we're not offensive, because if we become too negative, even we may not call it offensive if I'm negative, but just being negative is negative, and negative creates negative results, if you know what I mean. So Stephanie, mercy's all around you. Right now you're getting mercy. You're listening to Prabhupada's instructions. And so if you grab onto those instructions, then those instructions can pull you out of the well. So that's how you go from the no mercy state. You just grab the rope. So the deities is Krishna's mercy. The devotees are Krishna's mercy. The instructions are Krishna's mercy. This senior guidance you get is Krishna's mercy. Everything is Krishna's mercy. Just grab onto the rope, and you grab onto the rope. Like we were talking about having a spiritual master. There's so many spiritual masters. Stephanie was thinking, well, will I ever find a spiritual master? Will he ever accept me? And I think this analogy is good, is the rope is being thrown. And so all you have to do is grab on to the instructions of someone you have faith in, and there's your connection with your guru. Your guru is pulling you out of the well. So anyone whose instructions you grab onto and hold, in a sense, they're your guru. It may not be official. You may not accept them. Oh, you're my guru officially. We have this eternal relationship. I will serve and surrender to you. But at that moment, those instructions are pulling you out. So to go from the no mercy state to the mercy state, we just hold on to instructions. And in Stephanie's case, because she's looking for a spiritual master. So if you're looking for a spiritual master, well, how do you know who your spiritual master is? Well, hold on to everyone's instructions, because they'll all help you, and see which instructions help you the most. What was the most painless way out of the well? What was the quickest way out of the well? What was the most comfortable way out of the well? What was the most inspiring way out of the well? Maybe these instructions you held on to, wow, your hands were burning. Those were really hard, difficult instructions to hold on to. Maybe these other ones, no, these feel better. I'm inspired by these instructions. But in any case, you're holding on. You're taking advantage. When you go in the temple, see the deities with devotion. Get the full mercy. Associate with devotees. Try to do something to serve them. Hear from them. In every environment, take advantage of Krishna's mercy. So then you'll go from the no mercy state. And then you'll realize you're never in the no mercy state. The mercy is always there. It's just how well we take advantage of it. So I may feel like I'm in the no mercy state, but 1 second, like that, just like you can chant good rounds this morning. Boom, you're in the mercy state. You can take time, read Prabhupada's books. You're in the mercy state. You can do some seva in the temple. You can serve a Vaishnava immediately in the mercy state. The thing about mercy, which is so fantastic and so satisfying to the heart, is that Krishna wants us to go back to Godhead. So he wants to give us mercy. It's not like he's hiding mercy from us. No. Today Stephanie is not getting mercy because she ate too much yesterday. And I think, if a devotee eats too much, that's not good. So I don't like that. I won't give her mercy. That's not Krishna's attitude. Krishna's attitude is that he's looking to give mercy to all of us. We heard a story the other day. Oh, this is so nice. And there's a verse, and I've talked about this before, but it came to light in this verse. So, you know the story of Ajamil. He chanted the name Narayan, right? And then the Vishnu Dutas came. So, there's some commentary on this story, and it said that Krishna, he needs a pretext to show us mercy. Like there's got to be, like Krishna's neutral. If we don't show any interest, he won't show any interest. So pretext means there's got to be something that Krishna can reciprocate with, that he sees you're interested. So, oh, you took prasadam, okay, now I can reciprocate. Or you heard the Harinam party, at least you heard the holy name, I could reciprocate with you. So in this case, Jamil is this massive sinner, he's competing with Jagai and Madai for the gold medal of sin. And then he chants Narayana, and the Vishnu Dutas come and save him. So Krishna thought, well, he chanted Narayana, even though he was chanting his name, here's a pretext, now I can go save him. Krishna needed a reason, because Krishna, generally, he's not going to give mercy to someone who doesn't want it. There's got to be some Krishna conscious connection. Oh God, please save me, please help me. Something. Otherwise, Krishna's neutral, because Krishna says, Samaham sarvabhuteshu. I'm equal to all, I'm not partial. Na me dveshosti na priya. I don't hate anybody, I'm not dear to anyone. Krishna reserves this position as being neutral. So he needs some pretext. There's got to be something in there which he can reciprocate with. So he said Narayan, and Krishna, that's it. Even though he's not interested in Narayan, Krishna said, okay, that's it. There's the pretext, I can go save him. Isn't that an amazing story? So just think of that Krishna's looking how I can give my devotees mercy. And we're like, well, I don't really need mercy. I just want to be happy materially. If I get mercy, it's going to kind of ruin my material life. That's where we're at. And Krishna's like, how can I give you mercy? I want you back to Godhead. I want to help you. So we just have to hold on to the rope. The rope is always there. And we're falling in so many wells, and there's so many ropes that Krishna is sending, as we're discussing. Knowledge is a rope. My guru is a rope. The senior Vaishnava is a rope. The deity is a rope. The service is a rope. Any realization I get, that's a rope. Let me grab onto that realization and pursue it. Anything that helps you become Krishna conscious is a rope. So that's how you go, Stephanie. Just remember the rope. Maybe you should make a t-shirt. And the t-shirt has a rope going down a well. And the t-shirt says, remember the rope. Or draw a painting. Or any of you are artists out there? If Priya, we have two Priyas. And one Priya is artist, and one is designs. Either Priya, if you're there, you can draw this, You draw a picture of a rope and a well or something similar. Remember the rope. If we remember the rope, we realize that mercy is always there. He says, devotees that leave and are happy in material life, it's not because of the bhakti that they have received from devotional service. Resentment they forget. According to our philosophy, in order for you to be happy in material life, it requires a sufficient amount of ignorance. It's like Prabhupada gives the example. Cattle's being lined up, they're going to the slaughterhouse. They're being fed, everything's good, they're happy. They don't know they're being slaughtered. As soon as they realize that their person in front of them was slaughtered, then now they go into a state of stress. So ignorance is bliss. So sufficient ignorance is required to be happy materially, because if you face reality it's not so nice, and people don't want to face the reality. So material life, you could say material consciousness and material life means to turn off reality TV, turn on the make-believe station, go into a fairy tale and try to live happily forever after, and just don't worry about self-realization, don't worry about getting old and dying. And just enjoy yourself, be happy. And you could even, in extreme cases, people leave Krishna consciousness, will just turn off the whole philosophy. Oh, when I die, everything's finished. That's a great way to be happy. Yeah, just do whatever you want, because when you die, you're not going to suffer, you won't exist. Yeah, so sufficient ignorance is required to be happy materially. And if you're in the in the middle stage, in the limbo stage, where you're not really happy spiritually and you can't be happy, but you're confronting the spiritual reality, that's a little tough. Because you want to get into that spiritual reality more where you can experience the bliss. Because now when you look at the material, you see right through it. And so if you see right through it, you can't enjoy it. You know, sometimes I think, maybe this is a morbid thought, but I think it's valuable. A man and a woman are in love, and they want to get married and say, okay, fine, you guys are great. But I want to take you to this software, which allows us to see what you're going to look like when you're 80 years old. And I just want to show your partner that that is who he's going to be with, or when you're 70 or whatever. It's just to make sure it's okay, you know. You're going to be okay living with that person. Now, you might think, that's horrible. You know, they'll grow old together, and you know, gradually it'll be subtle, so it's not so drastic. But that's true, and Krishna does it that way. I think if he did it my way, maybe nobody would get married. But still, it's a reality. And, you know, when you're in love, you don't want to think in terms of reality, because that would make it not so nice. Just like if you're eating something that's not healthy, you don't want to think it's not healthy, because if you think it's not healthy, you can't enjoy it. So the nature of material life is ignorance is required to enjoy. But that way, if we don't have to confront reality and just forget all our problems, pretend they're not there, then we can be happy. So obviously, if someone's leaving Krishna consciousness, it's not like they're going to read Prabhupada's books every day. Because Prabhupada's books state the reality, and if you face the reality, you have to be Krishna conscious. And if you don't want to be Krishna conscious, why would you want to face that reality? Now, every case is different. Some people leave ISKCON and they continue their devotional service. They leave for various reasons. And some people leave and they mix material life and spiritual life, so it's not all black and white. But this is just a general principle. And if any of you make a poster or a t-shirt, please send me a copy. I would like to see it. So, Siddha Yogini. Siddha Yogini. Is that a name of Radharani? She's the perfect yogini. With a name like Siddha Yogini, you definitely have to become a famous yoga teacher, because that's the perfect name. Does it have to, I'm coming, Siddha Yogini, I'm going to be in Germany and Croatia. You're going to be there this summer? If you are, then I'll be there, live and in color. Does it have to be like that? I see devotees who are offending devotees continuously, and they're still there. But devotees which are offended or not, how to explain that? This is interesting. I've explained it before. I mean, this is a general explanation, and I can't say this relates to any specific devotee that you have experience of. I think that would, in a sense, be offensive on my part, to say that, to make an assumption about any individual devotee's Krishna consciousness. I don't think generally I'm qualified, unless I know that devotee well, I'm with that devotee, I've seen them going through stages, and now I see them going up or down, and I could kind of give my analysis of why that's happening. But I can only speak general, so I just wanted to make that as a disclaimer. This is a general discussion. And something I've seen, and I first thought about it, and then I confirmed it in Prabhupada's books. Actually, I had read it in Prabhupada's books, but I forgot, and then I had thought about it. And I was thinking the same thing, that sometimes you see devotees who are very offensive, and they're engaged in devotional service, and there can be a number of reasons, is that their offenses are not that great, and their service and their desire is greater than their offenses. So Krishna is allowing them to engage in devotional service to purify them, because he sees they have this sincere desire to serve, and their offenses are kind of conditioned, out of control, they're out of control. It's their nature. They're just offensive people. That's their personality. That's their persona. And they're in a somewhat helpless state. And Krishna knows by advancement they'll overcome it. And they do have this other side where they want to serve. They're sincere. They love their guru. And a lot of times people really are attached to their spiritual masters and want to serve them, but they have this offensive nature. So I've seen that. But there's another more interesting aspect, which our Shastra describes, and this description is potentially dangerous for us as a movement and us as individuals, because this statement could cause us to be offensive. And the statement is basically, not everyone who wears dhoti, kurta, tilak, sari, choli, ankle bells, holds japa beads, goes to a temple, is a devotee, is actually Krishna conscious. They may be engaged in what appears to be a devotional service, but they're not actually devotees. They're disciples of Kali. So that's what the Shastra says. Now, that's why I said I don't want to make a judgment on people. And I don't think, in general, we should, because then we could have a very toxic movement of people. You're not a devotee, because you criticize me. That's proof you're not a devotee. And I don't want to see you anymore. So it's not actually, we can't make these kinds of assumptions. But for the sake of a philosophical discussion, we can say what the Shastra is telling us is that sometimes someone can externally be engaged in devotional service and internally be offensive, and they don't have the subtle body of a devotee, maybe externally. And so their devotional service is very much covered by tamaguna. Tamaguna means that you think you're the best devotee. And so they're engaged in devotional service, but it's tamasic. Or you could take it one stage further and say it's not even devotional service. It's just that they're offending devotees. And Krishna is facilitating their offenses, and they want to offend devotees, so Krishna allows them to think they're a devotee. They're in the association of devotees, which is, of course, how you can offend devotees the best, is to be with them. So they're actually not engaged in devotional service, or not a very high grade of devotional service. And they're not really making advancement. You say, no, but they chant Hare Krishna, they read Prabhupada's books. And I say, but they're not making advancement, because the proof of that is they continue to offend. And one who's continually offending is not making advancement. So if someone's continually offending and apparently engaged in devotional service, naturally you ask, well, what kind of service are they engaged in? What is the caliber of their bhakti? It's very low, if at all. So then that way we don't become confused by thinking, but this person offends, but they engage in devotional service. Is that really devotional service? Are they really properly engaged? Of course, they could be engaged. Okay, now Siddha Yogini says, if someone offends me, does that mean it's an offense, even if it's not an offense? And I've heard devotees answer this question yes and no. And so, just to be safe, we'll take the answer yes. If I don't smile at you and you take offense, that means I made an offense. Did I really make an offense? No, I didn't. But because you took offense, yeah, that's going to be chalked up on the scoreboard as an offense. Let's just take that for an answer for now. Because if that's the answer, well, that's the safe answer. Maybe it's not 100% accurate. Why would I be considered offensive? Because I didn't smile at you. That's not an offense. I was smiling at him. I couldn't smile at you at the same time. Do you know what I mean? And then you went away. Now, why were you smiling at him? You should have smiled at me. So now you're offended. So was that an offense? No, it wasn't an offense. Were you offended? Yes. Does that make it offense? Yeah. Now it's an offense because you were offended because you're hung up on people not smiling at you, and you get upset about it, and you're a devotee, so now I offended a devotee. Is it a maha aparad? No. Will I suffer, go to hell? No. But the point is, if for the sake of argument, and I think there's evidence in stories in Shastra that if another devotee is offended unintentionally, it does affect our bhakti. We have stories like that. It may affect one's bhajan. Now I've offended you, and my mind's disturbed. Why is my mind disturbed? I don't know. Because you must have offended somebody. Okay, so let's take it from that point so I can just make this point. If that's true, then out of service to the other Vaishnavas, I should not take offense at what they do. Because if I take offense and it means that blah, blah, blah. If early in the morning, the mind is not oiled. Let's pour some oil in the ear. Shh. So try to get that out again. If you do something and I take offense, and if it's true that because I take offense, that becomes an offense for you, and if I don't take offense, it means what you did is not offensive, then I should not take offense. Now, you might say, well, is that actually true? Well, as I said, there are stories which seem to indicate that it's true, at least to some degree. And if the possibility is there that it is true, then at least let me take the precaution. And when you don't smile at me, I won't be offended. I'll just go, whatever. He likes to smile at him instead of me. That's fine. You're a great guy. I won't hate you because you didn't smile at me. And that way, I won't implicate you in offending a devotee. Now you might say, I'm hardly a devotee. So well, who cares if I get offended? It's not going to hurt them. It may hurt them. So better you just don't take offense. And then everything's good. Right? So you're not going to hurt anybody. But if you take offense, it could hurt them. Yeah, Priya's there. Priya's going to make a little drawing. We have two Priyas. One's actually an artist. Well, I don't know, Priya, if you're also an artist, but Priya's going to make a poster. It's going to say, remember the rope. Or you could say, remember the rope of mercy is always waiting, or something, that we said. Amrita Radhika says, Amrita Radhika. There's so much mercy, especially in this Purushottam month. I've started doing more in KC, and it is working, which has made me realize I wasn't doing enough before. So I have to do more to feel more bliss. Yeah, so we have a testimonial here from all the way from Sydney, that the bliss is alive and well in Sydney when you just, okay, let's get another analogy. There's a big ocean of bliss, and I've got my pinky little toe in it. That's all I'm experiencing. But now it's Purushottam Mas. I decided I was going to dive headfirst into the deep end of that ocean, and I'm glad I did. Yeah, so it's something like that. The ocean's waiting for you. The ocean of bliss is waiting for you, and yeah, we don't always know how to dive in, isn't it? So, yeah. Okay. You guys seem to really like this topic. Radha Priya, I was Sunday morning, but Sunday evening she wanted to see me at the temple. I was piled high in backlog email. Yes, devotees, be merciful on me. Don't send me messages unless they're really important and essential, because I spend time and I should be studying Prabhupada's books, answering emails that may not, and messages that don't really have to be answered. Please be merciful on me. Yes, this is a good class to ask for your mercy. Don't send it if you don't have to. Ask yourself, do I have to send this? The amount of time that it takes him to read this is the amount of time he could be reading Prabhupada's books, but now he's reading my message. Is my message important? Ask yourself, be merciful on me. If it's important, send it. I read something, said the key to email is 5 sentences. Don't write anything more than 5 sentences. So I'm trying to follow that rule. It's mercy on me, and it's mercy on the person who reads it, because they only have to read 5 sentences. And I only have to write 5 sentences. So that's the email rule. Maybe sometimes we need no mercy state to appreciate having mercy state. Like sometimes We need problems in life to appreciate good times. So maybe if we will go through no mercy state, meaning, well, we'll automatically go through it. We don't have to try. I don't recommend trying to go into a no mercy state. Okay, I have to hit the button in the right place. So maybe if we go through the no mercy state, meaning we don't feel inspired and we're coming back on being inspired, we'll be more eager to take advantage of the mercy. Well, it's true, and that's going to happen automatically. So I wouldn't make a plan for no mercy. Today, no mercy, I just sleep. I want to get a taste of what Maya's really like. There's a story like that in Bhagavatam, I think it was with Narada Muni, like he wanted to experience, he was, he couldn't understand why the householders were so much in Maya. And then Krishna gave him an experience of having to work like a householder, and he couldn't deal with it. He couldn't be Krishna conscious. And Krishna said, okay, now you know. He said how difficult it is, what they're dealing with. So, of course, we don't recommend get into Maya today. It's just so you can appreciate how good it is not to be in Maya. But, as I said, it's going to happen anyway, so your point is well taken. By comparison to that mercy state, a non-mercy state, you know how important the mercy is. And then you just reflect on how you get that mercy and where did you lose it. And, I think we all know when we don't chant good rounds, our spiritual life is pretty blah. When we don't read regularly, our spiritual life is pretty blah. When we engage too much in material affairs, too much time Facebook, too much time this and that, too much time YouTube, watching little kittens doing funny things, we feel blah. And if you want to do Krishna Karshani's experiment, just go on YouTube for a half an hour and watch everything. But make sure you don't watch anything Krishna conscious, and then you will fully understand by experience the meaning of the word blah, because you're going to feel blah. There's no juice in all of that. So, yes, so we can reflect on that. Just compare, the mercy, the state of no mercy to the state of mercy, and how, Stephanie said, thank you for being my rope. The rope is always there for you, Stephanie. And it's waiting for you. I can, anytime you want me to, I'll always throw it to you. Don't worry, it's always there. You just hold on. We'll go back to Godhead together. We'll have one big party in the spiritual world. We'll dance in ecstasy. And we'll remember that it was this magic rope that brought us back to Godhead. Jimena Maria Sidduran says, wow, a name like that, you should be famous, Jimena. That is an entertainer's name. So they have become ignorant after being a devotee due to offenses. Could be offenses. Now, it's not always offenses to devotees. It could just be that material desires overwhelm. Like you just become materially attached. I was confused about people who look so happy when they leave. Yeah. Well, if someone has doubts in Krishna consciousness, and someone is really suffering because of renunciation, and someone is not able to fully dedicate themselves to Krishna consciousness, yes, when they leave they would become happy, so-called happy, but the happiness is a kind of ignorance. Like, okay, everything's okay. I left Krishna, now everything's okay. How could everything be okay if you leave Krishna? You give up Krishna, you give up Prabhupada, and everything's okay. So why are they happy? Because they're engaged I know one devotee, and he explained why he's happy. He said he couldn't be celibate. He thought that was it was inhumane on Prabhupada's part to ask us to be celibate. When I became a devotee, that was the thing that made me the happiest, that I became celibate. I thought that was like the greatest thing that ever happened in my life. I thought it was such a relief that I don't have to interact with the opposite sex on a sexual level. And for him, it was the opposite. It was painful. So now he left, and he doesn't feel restrained by the guilt or physically restrained, and he can engage sexually without guilt. So he's happy. But happiness comes in different modes, and happiness comes in different consequences, with different consequences. So you have to be smart enough to see that you have to be smart enough to see that smile is Maya's smile. It's not real happiness. Yeah, and any material happiness you get is temporary anyway. So if you understand the philosophy, you understand they're not really happy, but it's just they've lost faith. There's some ignorance. There are some dormant material tendencies that were being suppressed. It could be something. And yes, it's true that sometimes a devotee tries to come to a level of Krishna consciousness that's too advanced for them. So if they slow down a little bit, they'll actually be less stressed out and be happier. So they might be a little bit more in Maya, so to speak, and be happier. That's understandable. It's just that you were trying to lift 200 pounds and you're restraining yourself. So now you're just lifting 100 pounds and you're okay. So that's fine, If that's why somebody's happy, they were trying to become a sannyasi and, and it was too hard for them, and they get married and you see that they're more settled and happy. Yeah, that's fine. They're still engaged as devotees. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's normal. So Priya says, yes, the t-shirt with the rope would be great, and she's going to draw it, right? And when I get to England, you're going to give it to me, right? Well, send me the drawing before you make the t-shirt. Bhavya Bhagavan Dasa says, sometimes in neophyte stage, due to super high false ego, people tend to take offenses when their ego is hurt. So does Krishna take it seriously, and do we have to suffer the repercussions? That is funny. Super high false ego. Prabhu, you have a super grandiose false ego, if I've ever seen one. We have to suffer a little bit. There's some, but it's not the same as actually making the offense, because if we didn't actually make the offense, but they felt offended, something is there. But it's not going to cause you to give up your bhakti because you actually didn't make an offense. If I do something and a devotee's pleased, okay, let's flip this argument around. Let's say I do something, like unconsciously, nonchalantly, accidentally, and a devotee says, oh, thank you, I really wanted that. It's like somebody gives me something. Like sometimes you get something, a little picture or something, and you don't know where to put it down, you don't know what to do with it, you're going somewhere, if you carry it, it'll get ruined. You go, Prabhu, would you like this picture? And I go, oh my God, that's my favorite picture. I was just thinking about this picture today, and you're giving, oh, thank you, Prabhu, thank you. What did you do? You were just trying to get rid of the picture because you didn't have any place for it. It wasn't really a service, but they're pleased. Do you make advancement? Does that help your Krishna consciousness? Yes. You get bonus points for that. If you nonchalantly, accidentally, unavoidably offend a devotee, does that hurt you? A little bit. To some degree, it affects you. It's not destructive, but you understand the principle? That even inadvertently we please a devotee, or inadvertently we offend a devotee or hurt a devotee. It has some effect. Fortunately or unfortunately, it's just the way it works. Because Krishna's pleased that this devotee liked that picture, so you get bonus points. Krishna's upset that you didn't smile because this devotee is unhappy, now Krishna's upset. But as I've always said, offense is really a mentality. It's a vicious, resentful mentality. And that's how we destroy ourselves. But I was not vicious. I was just smiling at this devotee. I wasn't neglecting that devotee, but they took it that way. So that's my understanding. I've discussed it with other devotees, and some devotees have outrightly said, no, if you inadvertently hurt a devotee, it's not an offense. And I would agree in the sense that you didn't make an offense. You did not make an offense. It's not an offense. The fact that they took offense means it has some detrimental effect on you. To some degree, it's considered a kind of offense. That's, I only say that because there are stories to that effect, that a devotee offended another devotee, but he didn't offend another devotee, but the devotee was offended, and it hurt his bhajan. The devotee who did the offending, who was not consciously offending, his bhajan was affected by the fact that this devotee was offended. So, well, at least we can say it could happen. It could be seen that way. I just want to say, don't remove that possibility, because by understanding that, at least you won't take offense. You'll say, well, if I offended, possibly that would be bad for that devotee. Maybe, possibly. If there is a chance, let me not take offense. Some devotees are more sensitive in general than others, definitely. And when one devotee may say something, do something that they may think is not offensive, and the sensitive devotee gets disturbed. Yeah, exactly. So one devotee may think it's offensive, sensitive devotee one thinks it's not offensive, sensitive devotee gets offended. How do we deal with this? I know I'm super sensitive in certain areas of KC and can easily get offended, but some others may not see it as offensive. Then I can't feel bad, but the others may not realize that they have been offensive. Well, let me tell you this. We do forgiveness workshop. It takes like 16 hours. And one of the last things we come to the conclusion of in the forgiveness workshop is that if you come to the highest level of Krishna consciousness, you see everything is divine arrangement. Everything is working to help you become Krishna conscious. So actually nobody offended you. You don't have anybody to forgive. The easiest way to forgive someone is to realize, I don't have to forgive them. They didn't do anything wrong. Whatever they did was just supposed to happen karmically, or supposed to happen for a lesson. Or I was only offended because, like you say here, I'm sensitive. But actually they didn't do anything wrong. It was me that got offended for something that wasn't wrong. It was just supposed to happen. It happened that way. It had to happen that way. It couldn't have happened any other way. So that's the ideal state to come to. So we should never be offended because everything's meant to happen the way it happened. And everything's okay. But if a devotee is very sensitive, and there are people who are very sensitive, yes, they will get offended. But at least I would say from our part, if somebody gets offended, but I didn't do anything offensive, and I check with my other God brothers and sisters and say, was that what I did? Was that offensive? And they'll say, no, that devotee is just sensitive. Then at least you can feel, okay, at least I didn't do anything wrong. I'm sorry they are offended. I will apologize to them if I offended you. Please forgive me. But at least you know you didn't do the wrong thing. So at least you should know that. Did I or didn't I? If I did, I should know it. If I didn't, then I can be at least complacent or satisfied that I didn't offend them, although I will apologize and I wish they hadn't taken offense. But I have offended devotees, trying to help them. I was sincerely trying to guide them, and I believe if they would have listened to me, they would be much better off than they are today. But they couldn't listen and they were offended. So I felt bad that it ended up that way. But, if I tell you to go right because left is wrong and you get offended that I said go right, what can I say? Right is the way. I know you want to go left, but that's not we're not going to get to where we're going. So sometimes, I feel bad that I said right, and now you're upset because you had your heart set on going left, but I don't know what else to say. So I think it's okay to feel bad. I think maybe it's natural to feel bad if someone's upset by what we did. But I've seen various cases in which devotees were upset because they weren't ready to handle the reality of their situation. And so they got upset. When someone explained, well, this is how it is, they got upset. What can you do? You were just trying to help them. Krishna Karshani says, I know very offensive criticizing devotee who continue KC for over 25 years, chanting and reading Prabhupada's books. Although he is a devotee, he is a very unhappy person because he is all, no one wants to be with him, right? Let's see more. No one wants to be with him. He has no friends. So it looks like Krishna is letting this devotee stay in Krishna consciousness, but is punishing him by making him unhappy. In fact, this devotee is making himself unhappy. That's true. We see that a lot. But I would add to this my other point that I was making before. Maybe it wasn't clear. If a devotee is in Krishna consciousness, quote unquote, so-called Krishna consciousness, he's chanting, he's reading, and he's continually offending devotees. A symptom of a devotee is that he doesn't offend devotees. So how can we say he's in Krishna consciousness? Well, we say, he wears tilak, nice tilak. He reads Prabhupada's books, he quotes Prabhupada's books, he chants his japa, and every day he's criticizing devotees. Now, if we had to do an analysis, does a devotee every day criticize other devotees? No. Does a devotee chant? Yes. If you criticize a devotee, is that chanting? It's the first offense. It's not chanting, it's namaparad. So you're not chanting. He reads Prabhupada's books. What is he getting out of Prabhupada's books? He's finding out everything that devotees are doing wrong by learning the standards that Prabhupada is giving in his books. He's concluding everyone is doing something wrong, or many people are doing something wrong. Is he reading Prabhupada's books? Not really. So his chanting is not really chanting Hare Krishna, he's chanting Namaparad. He's not really reading Prabhupada's books because those books, from my own experience, are probably let's assume this is the case, which I believe it is. It's fueling his envy and his criticism. So a devotee doesn't criticize. So if someone is engaged in devotional service and they're fully absorbed in criticizing, they're not a devotee. It just looks like they're a devotee. That was my point. Because devotees don't do that. If he was a devotee, he would stop criticizing. Prabhupada said, Vaishnavas don't criticize. I was just reading this really nice story. You're going to like this. It's a conversation between Sati and Lord Shiva, and Sati wants to go to the yajna her father is doing. And Lord Shiva says, don't go. He doesn't want you there. He won't appreciate you. He will criticize you. He will criticize me. So Prabhupada's talking about criticism in the purport. And what he's saying is that a high-class person appreciates the good. Whatever good is in another person, a high-class person will appreciate it. So how do you know a high-class person? Because he's always appreciating. That's the nature of that culture of a high consciousness, Krishna conscious, high-class, civilized human being. They appreciate. What's the culture of a low-class person? Criticism. How do you know where a person's at? Well, if they're always criticizing, that's symptomatic. This is what Lord Shiva said. He said, Daksha will criticize. It's uncultured. It's low class. That's what people of a lower standard do. So Daksha has come of this lower uncultured nature. So what speak of being a devotee? It's just uncultured, uncivilized action. So now we're saying this person's a devotee and all he's doing is criticizing? And I would say no. The illusion that he can be offensive and still be a devotee engaged in devotional service is the fact that he's not engaged in devotional service. He's chanting Namaparad. That's not devotional service. He's studying Prabhupada's books and it's fueling his offensive mentality. That's not devotional service. So it appears like he's engaged in devotional service. That was my point. But he's actually not. That's not bhakti. That's anything but bhakti. It just looks like it. You know, we see sometimes on the internet, there are these devotees and they're writing anything that's going on. They're just smashing this one, smashing that one, or they're making videos to criticize devotees, and they're absorbed in it. They do it it's like a weekly show. Who are we going to criticize this week? Is that what a devotee does? Could you imagine if Prabhupada saw that, how angry he would be? That's not what that person is doing. It's not devotional service. That's not what devotees do. It just isn't. So, you know, they wear tilak, they use devotee lingo, they chant Hare Krishna. It sounds like Hare Krishna. It's not you're not if you're blaspheming devotees, you're not chanting Hare Krishna. You're chanting Nam Aparad. That is not Hare Krishna. You're making the sound Hare Krishna. And if you were actually chanting Hare Krishna, you would stop committing these offenses. You would stop your video shows, you would stop your blogs, you would stop all. If you're actually chanting the holy name, you would become humble and you would appreciate devotees. That's the way we should see it. So when we see, oh, he's engaged in devotional service, I don't understand, he offends devotees. It's not devotional service he's engaged in. He's engaged in criticizing devotees. That's not devotional service. Krishna is engaged, and Prabhupada talks about this in the CC. He said, when you fall from bhakti, you get caught in this spiral of criticizing devotees, and you, instead of being situated in bhakti, you're situated in criticism. Prabhupada used the word situated in criticism. That's a really interesting phrase. It's like you're now empowered by the criticism shakti, and you can't stop criticizing. That's not bhakti. You're fallen in, and you think you're a devotee, and you think you're going to save ISKCON. But that's not Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada never taught us that. Shastra doesn't teach us that. The blah was very common with me. It has reduced here in Mayapur, but it still does happen. Okay, there's another t-shirt, Priya. What's your blah factor? You have a blah gauge. A little gauge, and it says blah on it. So where are you on the blah scale? You want to be 0 on the blah scale. So what's your blah factor? Should we call the name of this class, what's your blah factor? Thank you for your answer. When I am weak, I get confused. Not when I'm empowered. Yeah, drunk people are happy also. It's pretty easy to see why they're happy. That doesn't confuse us. So people who are happy in the material world are drunk on the modes of ignorance. So that's why they're happy. They're just intoxicated. By people, I mean devotees in neophyte stage. I don't know, Bhavya Bhagavan. If I didn't answer your question, ask it again. Because I think I answered it. I hope I answered it. Parananda says, sometimes people may ask a question, but if someone is killed in a car accident, how can a family see it as grace of God? Is it possible to perceive it as grace? You're not going to perceive it as grace in the beginning, obviously. Recently, last year, when was it? Maybe it was 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. A very dear devotee, a devotee that was dear to many, many people, left her body in Govardhan, and everyone was trying to process it. And in trying to process it, many devotees said that she was in a state of consciousness where she was happy to leave her body, and she was telling people, if I die now, I'm happy. Because she was not clear about her future. And when she was looking at her future, she was seeing that there's so many things she wants to do for Krishna, but then there's the material side which is going to take her away. And she wasn't so optimistic about the prospects. And so many people said, actually she really wanted to go back to Godhead. And there was an accident. And there were 3 people in a rickshaw. And she died and the others didn't. So, it all kind of added up. So you're going to have to see these things in a more philosophical way. Especially if it's a devotee, well, they live 20 years or 25 years or 19 years, and Krishna took them, so that their life is perfect. You have to see things philosophically. As conditioned souls, obviously we're going to lament, but at some point we'll come to our senses. We should always remember that everything is Krishna's mercy, even when it seems it's not His mercy. When your wife gets upset with you, it's Krishna's mercy, because she's helping you become humble. If nobody gets upset with you, how will you become humble? So you think, oh, okay, it's Krishna's mercy. Like you see something about it. It's Krishna's mercy. You get caught in a traffic jam. Oh, how is this Krishna? Well, no, I can listen to the lecture longer. You know what I mean? You have to see that. We have some more comments. Danya says, thank you for your answer. Maybe the feeling of humor serves as an antidote to offense. Well, it will serve as an antidote if we're being offended. It's not going to be an antidote if I offend you. Danya, did I pronounce your name right? Danya. Not Danya. Dana. So, I have a philosophy that I find one of the greatest ways to insulate yourself from Maya is to tell jokes about how weird, crazy, and just utterly ridiculous material life is, and the material world is. And just laugh at it. Because it's so bad out there, and sometimes things are so weird and paradoxical and hypocritical and oxymoronish, and if you just laugh at it, it's amazing how that insulates you from Maya, because it's like you're laughing at Maya. You say, look at that guy and that girl, they're so enamored, and they have this I don't know if you've seen this on YouTube. This is a young boy and a girl, and they're walking down the street, and they have to walk around a telephone pole. So like before they go to the pole, they embrace, and then they walk around it, then they embrace, and then you see them a year later, and they walk around the pole, and they kiss one another, and then they go. And then the next year, they're holding hands up to the pole, and then right after the pole, they hold hands. And then next year, they let go of their hands, and they walk through the pole. Then they hold their hands. And the next year, they weren't even holding their hands, and they just walk through. And then the final year, they get to the pole, and the woman just throws the guy into the pole. She's so frustrated and angry with him. So it's funny. But why is it funny? Because it happens. You love one another, and then you hate one another. So, by making fun of it, making light of it, it actually helps us just laugh at the reality rather than others, because if you don't laugh, you'll cry, isn't it? So that's the idea. We can, if someone offends me, if I can laugh at that, that would be good. That would help me, right? Nitai Gauranga Sundar Ki Jai. Brajabalavi, Bhavi Bhagwan, Brajabalavi. Yeah. Okay, so we can end here. It's the class went a long time, and it's late it's late out there in Aussie land. Well, I guess it's not late. Depends what part of Aussie land you are in. But if you're in the eastern part, it's late. So, and I'm going to go to class now at the temple. Satyananda Swami is supposed to be giving class again. So, I heard yesterday, not only is it on the Alachua website, but it's also on Satyananda Swami's Facebook page that they're broadcasting, so you could see it there. His classes have been very helpful for devotees. So you can also see, hopefully, the recordings of his classes are there on the Alachua Temple website, the archives. They're really nice. His classes will inspire you to read Bhagavatam. What about offending non-devotees? Or maybe we should say, not yet do it. Yeah, that will. Offending non-devotees is a sin, and sin is an obstacle to bhakti. But it's not as big an obstacle as offense. And so when you offend a devotee, that's Vaishnava aparad. And Vaishnava aparad is not just a sin, it's an aparad. And that aparad can undo your bhakti. Whereas ordinary sin is obviously an obstacle, not helpful at all. We need to clear it away. But it's not destructive, it can be washed away. But aparads are destructive, and it takes a lot more to wash them away or counteract them. So that's the difference. But our acharyas say, if you are accustomed to offending people, that could spill over and then you'll start offending devotees. So we should be careful. Okay? So thank you for watching. We will see you next Saturday, I guess. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hare Hare Bol.